balloons, bazookas, boobies, bosoms, boulders, cans, hooters, knockers, melons, honkers, jugs, rack, tatas, tits, torpedoes, guns, bust, doorknobs, coconuts, and our favorite one, the girls. Welcome to the All About Breastfeeding show, where your host, Lori, highlights mothers just like yourself and goes beyond the surface questions and digs deep so they share not only their joys and happiness in their daily breastfeeding life, but also their pain and struggles and how they worked through them.
Episode number 125. Welcome to All About Breastfeeding, the place where the girls hang out. I am your host, Lori Jill Eisenstadt, IBCLC, which stands for International Board Certified Lactation Consultant, and I spend my days helping moms with breastfeeding. I just unveiled a new homepage. It is allaboutbreastfeeding.biz, and I encourage everyone to go there and check it out and see what I have been up to and the services that I am providing for you. Today, we have frequently asked questions, FAQ number 8. If you missed any of the others, you will want to go back to number 1 because by the time I'm finished with 12 weeks of FAQ, it's almost like taking a breastfeeding class. Almost, but it's just chock full of so much great information. So I hope that you check out all of the FAQs. For today, so far, we have talked about what an IBCLC is. On another show, I shared how I decided to become an IBCLC and all the steps I took to get here. On the third FAQ day, I talked about one of my most favorite topics, just how do the breasts make milk? It really is all so mysterious. You just can't see this work in progress. You just know it is all happening behind the scenes. I love talking about it because so many people tell me they quite literally have a greater appreciation for the breasts as this life-giving organ, as well as something that gives one sexual pleasure. I know that learning all about this mammary gland actually serves the purpose of sustaining life for our babies, and I know that most people know that. But it also literally opens the minds of people who have just, quite frankly, never thought about the breasts in such a way. I have no problem with sexualizing the breasts and for it to be a pleasurable organ, as long as we respect and value this amazing organ for its main purpose, and that is to provide food for our babies. Okay, well, you see how I can easily go off on a mini tangent about the beauty of the breast? Just wait, though, until you hear me talking about the amazing placenta. You haven't heard anything yet. Pity the poor families who take my childbirth education classes. Just think how they must feel. Actually, couples, they often give me great feedback about how I managed to turn something so mundane that they never really thought too much about before into a subject that they go home and now they have an interest in researching even more about the placenta. Yep, when I taught childbirth classes, I did a whole hour on the amazing placenta. Okay, getting back to the breasts again. On the fourth FAQ day, we talked about your hormones and what they have to do with breastfeeding. We got into the gold, liquid gold that is. That must be the fifth FAQ where we talked about your baby's first food, the colostrum. FAQ 6 was all about the latch, and last week's show, I taught you how you can tell if you need to get help with breastfeeding. We talked about how do you know that breastfeeding is going well? How do you know that you need help? I always find it so incredibly interesting that when I talk to parents postpartum, very few tell me that they learned how to tell when things were going well and how do they determine when things are not going well with breastfeeding. Since feeding your baby and ensuring they are getting the right amount of calories, nutrients, and hydration is like one of the most important things you need to know as new parents, it's kind of crazy that these skills are not being talked about enough. This leads us to today's FAQ number 8. You just gave birth. You have begun breastfeeding your beautiful baby. Now you need to know, beyond the latch, what should you expect from you, from your baby, the first 24 hours, in the first 4 days, as far as breastfeeding goes. So I really like to break it down because the first 24 hours can be quite different than day 2 on. If all went well with your birth, for you and your baby, and neither of you needs special care, it is best if you do what you can do to spend the first 24 hours just being with your baby. We like to call it your baby moon time. Your physical body and emotional mind has been through a lot of changes from pregnancy to birth to postpartum. You have gone through a lot in the last 9 months, right? Here is what you can expect for the first 24 hours. Babies usually feed maybe 3 to 4 times the first day. Sometimes they take one side, sometimes they take both sides. Pain is not normal ever. Babies want to eat more frequently. If they want to, great, go for it. But if all they have is 3 to 4 feedings at first 24 hours, and based on everything you learned about how to tell whether or not it's a good feeding, if they're good feedings and it's painless and your baby is nutritively sucking and you just intuitively feel like they're good feedings, 3 to 4 is more than enough. Don't let anybody push you into saying that your baby needs to eat every hour and a half the first 24 hours because that typically is not the case. Well, your baby should have that good quality nutritive sucking the majority of the time they are at the breast, and they should not be spending much of their time sleeping at the breast before they've had a good feed. They should be active and interested. Babies usually pee and poop the first 24 hours, whatever was inside them. So it's important for you to keep good records for at least the next 7 days to help evaluate their feedings, and you should keep this up until you realize things are going beautifully, and then you just don't need to keep those records anymore. From day 2 on, babies should be hungry enough to wake up on their own for about 7 to 9 feedings a day. So does everybody hear that? The first 24 hours, if they only want to feed 3 or 4 times, but it's good quality feeding, more than enough. But by the second day, if the first 24 hours went really well and they've started to get some food in their belly, by day 2, they should want to be eating much more frequently. Their tummies are really small. They can't hold that much, so they're feeding very frequently. But again, 7 to 9 feedings, and they should all be pretty good quality feedings and painless for you. These feedings should be comfortable for you, productive for the baby, and again, no sleeping at the breast during feeding time. Most of the time, your baby should be satisfied for about 1.5 to 3 hours after feedings. Now we come to day 3. It should be similar to the second day. Lots of good breastfeeding, about 8 times or so. Now their output should be changing. So their stools that were dark black and sticky, the meconium, the first day, they should starting to be turning a little bit lighter brown on the second day. And on the third day, definitely be a very light brown and at least 2 to 3 stools. A lack of normal output is a sign of poor milk transfer. So if your baby has not pooed in the second and third day, or even the third full day, to me, that is a red flag that perhaps your baby is not getting enough. Painful breastfeeding is a sign of poor milk transfer. If you're in pain and they're not transferring much milk, then you're going to see that in the lack of output. Poor milk transfer means your baby is just not getting enough food. Now, this is the third day, and maybe you're still a little bit unsure, but you are documenting how the feedings are going, how they're feeling for you, the activity level of your baby at the breast, and their output. By day 4, you should start feeling your breast start getting a little bit more full, and that might even happen to you on day 3. When you are engorged, your breasts feel really full and really hard and really uncomfortable, not just heavy. If you have firm lumps and clogged ducts when you're engorged, this is not normal. And if this lasts more than 24 hours, you need to see your lactation consultant. Engorgement that lasts more than 24 hours, lumps and clogged ducts is not normal, and it will cause you pain and a lot of other problems too. Remember my mantra, pain is not normal ever. Now, by day 4, if you've been kind of unsure, today you should really be able to tell whether breastfeeding is going well or not. Because by this point, you should have noticed a noticeable increase in the volume of milk and the fullness of your breasts. When your baby breastfeeds, it should be comfortable. Your breasts, you'll feel them, they'll be much fuller before a feeding and much softer when your baby is done. Your baby at this point should have transitioned from the dark black meconium to the brown stools to yellowish mustardy color stools. It looks like a little chunky, like cottage cheese, or like little black sesame seeds. I know it sounds weird, but that is newborn breastfeeding normal stools. And your baby should have at least 2 to 3 of this yellow mustardy color stools every 24 hours. And they should have at least 4 heavy wet diapers a day. And this is normal from this point on. So I see so many people whose babies just pooped and pooped and pooped on day 1, day 2, and then nothing on day 3, and then nothing on day 4. But they feel like everything is fine because other people are telling them it's fine, and because their baby is peeing. But we need pees, and we need the output of poos also. A lack of this, or non-existent at all, tells us that your baby is more than likely not getting enough. And don't you want to know sooner rather than later if your baby is not getting enough? So here are some signs that tell you there is reason to be concerned that breastfeeding is not going so well and you should get help. If your baby is sleeping at the breast most of the time, or spending a lot of time, like an hour at the breast, and is usually still hungry right after feedings, bobbing its head around, putting fingers in his mouth, sticking his tongue out, and crying, if your baby doesn't have the normal output stated here, or if your baby is one way or the other, very, very, very fussy, or really, really, really sleepy and hard to wake up, those are very clear signs that your baby should be evaluated. So again, painful breastfeeding, painful nipples, baby sleeping at the breast, baby seeming active at the breast, but consistently still very hungry after a long time at the breast. Poor output, lack of pees, lack of stools, very fussy or very, very sleepy. All clear, what I call red flags, sirens like, wow, 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 someone come and help me. There's something that's not exactly right. If you are pumping because of poor feedings or low supply, painful feedings, or your baby lost too much weight, these are all signs that breastfeeding is not going well, and you will want to schedule an appointment. If you are pumping, a hospital-grade pump is highly recommended if you're having problems. When to pump? Well, every time your baby takes milk from a bottle, if you're giving milk in a bottle, that's your signal to pump. At some point between birth and 4 days old, it is likely that you have taken your baby to be seen by their physician. A complete examination will be done. This should include a weight check. Another way that you could tell if your baby is doing well is their weight gain or weight loss. And a newborn baby, it's normal for them to lose about 4 to 5 ounces in the first 4 days of life. And by day 5, it's normal for your baby to begin gradually gaining back the normal weight loss and be back to birth weight by the time your baby is 14 days old. If your baby is feeding well, active at the breast, there's no pain in your breast, there's no engorgement, there's no nipple pain, cracked or bleeding, your baby is clearly hungry before feeding, your breasts are quite full before feeding, they come to the breast with lots of really good nutritive sucking activity, and you can just tell that they're drinking the milk. And when the feeding is over, your breast has a lot of jiggle and is clearly much softer, and your baby looks like they're in a milk coma, then more than likely things are going really well with breastfeeding. So again, breastfeeding shouldn't hurt, and your nipples shouldn't be sore. You need to put your baby's feedings and your sleep as the two top priorities during your postpartum period. Next week, we are going to talk about what to expect from day 4 to 14. So we've talked about the first 24 hours and how different they are, then day 2, 3, and 4, and now moving from day 4 to 14. We will take you right up to that very important 2-week checkup. Thanks so much for listening to the show today and for being such a good parent, for wanting to learn what to expect as far as breastfeeding goes, in particular the first 2 weeks. You have come this far and learned how important good breastfeeding the first 2 weeks are for long-term breastfeeding. Thanks for wanting to do the best for your baby. Until next week, bye-bye. Have you heard that Phoenix, Arizona is blessed with an amazing birthing center? Babymoon Birth Center is the best option for families who want access to midwifery care in and out of a hospital setting. You can experience birth in a comfortable home-like setting where natural birth is the focus. Laboring in water, being able to walk outside during labor, and enjoy the beautiful garden. This is what birth can be like for you. There is so much more to learn about Babymoon. The staff would love to have the opportunity to meet you and would like to extend an invitation for you to attend a free Choices in Childbirth class and a tour of the birth center. All you need to do is call 602-314-7755. That's 602-314-7755 and ask for the tour dates. You can also go to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz/podcast. And on the right-hand side of the page, you will see a link that will bring you to the calendar and you can sign up for the tour yourself. When you come in for the tour, make sure that you tell them you found out about it from the All About Breastfeeding podcast, and you will be given a very lovely free gift.